Pfizer and BioNTech announcing that they have begun a clinical trial for an Omicron-specific COVID-19 vaccine. The disease's severity during Omicron appears to be lower than during other COVID surges. And if you were one of the many that got Omicron during this latest surge, what's the likelihood that you could be reinfected? Joining me to weigh in on this and other issues is Dr. David Zich with Northwestern Medicine. Good morning to you, Dr. Zich. Let's start with that question.
Good morning.
So many people have been infected this latest wave because of this highly contagious variant. Do they need to worry about getting reinfected again soon?
That's obviously a great question, and unfortunately there is not one blanket answer because immunity varies so significantly from individual to individual. The bottom line is we feel that if you've been infected, most people will have good immunity for at least 2 months. The CDC has actually allowed travel letters of exemption from testing up to 3 months from a documented positive PCR test. But people who have weakened immune systems actually can get reinfected fairly quickly after the virus, and people who are unvaccinated will have a lower immune response than those who are vaccinated. So you need to still be cautious, but yes, short-term immunity can be pretty much counted on.
Okay, so let's talk about this new stealth variant. We keep hearing about this. We're being told not to worry, but when you hear something called the stealth variant, you worry. What can you tell us about that?
So that's BA2, and it is supposedly slightly more contagious than the original Omicron variant. The stealth variant refers to the fact that that protein spike actually lacks one of the mutations of the original Omicron, and therefore it's not as readily identifiable as Omicron. You actually have to do genetic sequencing to tell that it is the Omicron variant. But it does not appear to be more dangerous. It is only slightly more contagious, and I don't think is going to change our landscape much in this respect.
Okay, let's talk vaccines once again. So how much is enough? That's the question. A medical panel in Israel advising the government to recommend making 4th vaccine doses available to people 18 and over. And now we're hearing the drug companies are working on an Omicron-specific vaccine. At what point do you say, okay, that's just one vaccine too many or too much of a good thing?
Sure. Well, you've heard all of us say vaccinate, vaccinate, vaccinate,
Right.
vaccinate. And there's some people that think, well, if one vaccine is good, 10 vaccines must be 10 times better. And that is absolutely not true. So obviously there are rare but serious side effects that can happen from vaccines, and there's a whole host of other side effects that people get routinely. There's a cost to it, but then also if you have an active immune system, kicking it over and over again is just plain not necessary. And this data out of Israel is actually a bit confusing because they released data last week that said that 4th vaccine for most people did not make that much difference. That is not so much a failure of a 4th vaccine, but endorsing a 3rd vaccine. If you're fully vaccinated with a booster, you are still very well protected against severe illness, hospitalization, and death. And the 4th dose in Israel didn't contribute to that much more at all. So right now in America, we're saying sit tight. You do not need a 4th vaccine unless you're severely immune compromised. And the sooner you get a booster now, the sooner that immune system is going to wane. So if we happen to have a spike later in the summer, people might be clamoring for a 5th dose. So right now, we don't believe it's necessary.
Okay, finally, question for you. CDC has said this disease severity during Omicron appears to be lower than during other surges, but with so many people getting infected, you know, we go back to the beginning and herd immunity, and some health experts are now saying that this could be the turning point of this pandemic. What are your thoughts on this?
So COVID has certainly taught us that we need to curb our enthusiasm when talking about getting back to life as we knew it. However, there's a number of reasons to be optimistic. Some epidemiologists estimate that almost half of Americans have had Omicron right now, whether it's been symptomatic or not symptomatic. That's a far, far cry from herd immunity. But at the same time, more people are getting vaccinated. We have a vaccine coming down the pipeline that is going to be more universal and resistant to any of the variants that might come out in the future. We have the sotrovimab monoclonal antibody that is going to be ramping up and becoming more available for treatment. And the Paxlovid, also the pill to treat COVID, is going to be ramped up as well this year. So there are a number of reasons to think that 2022 will be the time that humans finally get the upper hand in this battle.
That's what we want to hear. Dr. David Zich with Northwestern Medicine. Thank you. As always, great to see you.
My pleasure.
Talk soon. Okay.